Let me ask you a question that might feel a little uncomfortable. When is the last time you actually looked at your cholesterol panel and knew exactly what those numbers meant for your future? Not the hurried explanation from your physician, not the generic "it's a little high" followed by a prescription pad. I mean truly understanding the story those lipids are telling about your arteries, your heart, and the next 2 decades of your life. Here's what most people don't realize: LDL cholesterol doesn't attack you dramatically. There's no sharp chest pain, no flashing warning light. Instead, it operates like a slow, silent stowaway, depositing plaque inside your vessel walls for years, sometimes a full decade before any test catches it. And here's the frustrating part. You feel fine, your energy is okay. Your annual checkup seems normal except for that one stubborn number creeping up every single year. Your cholesterol doesn't scream, it whispers until it's too late. Now imagine this: 8 weeks from today, you get a blood draw. Your doctor reviews the results, looks up and asks, "What exactly have you been doing?" Your LDL dropped nearly 30 points without a single pill. That's not a fantasy. That's what targeted, consistent lifestyle changes can deliver for most people in your situation. And today, I'm giving you 9 research-backed strategies to get there. But I need you to stay for the entire video because in the second half, I'm naming 2 supplements that millions currently take thinking they're getting natural cholesterol support. One of them is frequently contaminated with a kidney-damaging toxin. The other has been tied to severe liver injury. Both are sold as natural alternatives to medication. I'll name both, explain the real danger, and tell you what to do instead. So before you click away, let's start with strategy 1, and this is the foundation, the piece that changes how everything else works. Want to lower your LDL? Most people think the answer is just cutting fat, but the real science is about upgrading it. Saturated fats in butter slow down LDL clearance, but polyunsaturated fats, like those in salmon and walnuts, help your liver clear LDL from your blood. The fix? Replace butter with olive oil, add a daily handful of walnuts, and eat fatty fish twice a week. It's an easy, heart-healthy upgrade. Also, watch your morning coffee. Unfiltered coffee like French press contains cafestol, which can silently raise your LDL numbers. The solution is simple. Use a paper filter. It traps the cafestol, making your coffee heart-healthy again. Drip and pour over are your best bets. Small, science-backed shifts like these can lead to real changes on your next blood panel. Start upgrading your fats and filtering your coffee today. Strategy 3 is genuinely powerful: soluble fiber. Your digestive system is far more involved in cholesterol metabolism than most people realize. When you eat soluble fiber, it forms a viscous gel in your gut that traps bile acids. To replace them, your liver pulls more LDL from your blood. Aim for 7 to 10 grams of soluble fiber daily. Start with rolled oats and 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. That's nearly 9 grams right there. Strategy 4, plant protein. Replacing red meat with soy, beans, or nuts can lower your LDL by up to 8% by changing how your liver handles metabolism. You don't need to go vegetarian. Just swap red meat for lentil soup or black beans a few times a week. These small changes compound over time. Upgrade your fiber and your protein to see real results. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll dive into how exercise changes your LDL particles. Biosalt hydrolysis. When they deconjugate bioacids in the gut, it reduces reabsorption and they compound each other. Fermented foods introduce and support beneficial bacterial populations. Miso, kimchi, sauerkraut, plain kefir. 1 to 2 servings per day supports the kind of gut environment that helps cholesterol metabolism over the long run. Your liver has to draw more cholesterol from the bloodstream to produce replacements. The research on specific probiotic strains for LDL reduction is still developing. But what is clear is this: overall gut microbiome diversity correlates with better lipid profiles, and fermented whole foods are the most practical way to support that diversity for most people. A daily supplement capsule with a single strain is not remotely the same as building a diverse food-supported microbiome over months. Think of this as building infrastructure, not getting a quick fix. A small bowl of miso soup with dinner, a tablespoon of kimchi alongside a meal, a cup of plain kefir in the morning, downstream effect as soluble fiber. Different mechanism, which means they work together, and small, easy, consistent habits that quietly support the bigger picture. Strategy 7. And I want to be careful here because the misinformation on this topic has been loud and persistent for decades. Eggs, for 30 or 40 years, eggs were treated as a cardiovascular threat. The logic seemed airtight. Eggs contain dietary cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol raises blood cholesterol. Therefore, eggs are dangerous. Simple. Clear, wrong. Your liver is a dynamic system. When dietary cholesterol intake goes up, your liver compensates by producing less of its own. For most healthy adults, the net effect on blood LDL from eating 1 egg per day is quite small, much smaller than the effect of saturated fat in the same meal. Think about what you typically eat alongside an egg: butter in the pan, processed breakfast meat, toast spread with butter. The egg is almost never the cholesterol story. It's everything surrounding it. Current evidence supports 1 egg per day as well tolerated for the majority of healthy individuals without meaningfully raising LDL. The nuance applies to people with familial hypercholesterolemia or type 2 diabetes. In those groups, the response to dietary cholesterol can be more pronounced, and the conversation with your physician matters more. If that's you, discuss it directly before drawing conclusions about egg intake. For everyone else, the egg is not your enemy. What you put next to it, that's often where the real cholesterol story lives. Now I need to stop here because we've covered 7 solid strategies, and I want to be honest with you about something important. For some of you, I'd estimate roughly half, there is a pattern that will silently undermine everything we've just discussed, and it involves 2 specific supplements that are very widely used right now. Pay close attention here. The first one is Reggie's rice. Reggie's rice has become enormously popular in the natural health space because, let's be honest, it does lower LDL. It works because it contains a compound called monacolin K, which is chemically identical to lovastatin, a prescription statin drug. When you take Reggie's rice, you are essentially taking an unregulated statin. Here's the serious problem. The fermentation process used to make Reggie's rice can produce a contaminant called citrinin, a mycotoxin with documented kidney toxicity. Testing of commercial Reggie's rice products has consistently found citrinin contamination in a significant proportion of products on the market. The contamination levels vary unpredictably from batch to batch and from brand to brand. There is no regulatory oversight ensuring a consistent dose. There is no guaranteed purity standard. You are taking a statin equivalent compound with none of the safety controls that apply to prescription medications. And here's the real irony. People turn to Reggie's rice precisely because they want to avoid the perceived risk of pharmaceutical statins. But without standardized manufacturing, they're actually taking on more uncertainty, not less. You don't know what dose you're getting. You don't know whether the batch in your cabinet is contaminated. If your LDL is high enough to require statin-level intervention, have that conversation with your doctor about an actual prescription statin-controlled dose, regulated manufacturing, documented safety profile. That is the more responsible choice, not the less natural one. The second supplement is concentrated green tea extract in capsule form. Drinking green tea is genuinely beneficial. 3 to 4 cups a day has solid evidence behind it and carries no meaningful risk for most people. The polyphenols in green tea, particularly EGCG, have shown modest positive effects on LDL in multiple studies. Green tea as a beverage is something I recommend freely. Capsule supplements containing concentrated green tea extract are a completely different matter. There are documented cases of serious liver injury, some requiring liver transplants associated with high-dose green tea extract supplements. Both the FDA and the European Food Safety Authority have flagged this issue specifically. The cases are not common, but they are real. They are documented, and they are serious enough that regulatory agencies have issued formal public warnings. The problem appears to be dose concentration. A cup of green tea delivers a certain amount of EGCG naturally diluted through the preparation process. A capsule delivering the equivalent of 40 or 50 cups can overwhelm the liver's processing capacity in susceptible individuals. And the difficulty is that you often can't predict in advance who those susceptible individuals are. Drink the tea, enjoy it freely, but be cautious about concentrated capsule extracts, particularly at the higher doses marketed for weight loss and cholesterol support. Natural and safe are not the same thing. That distinction matters enormously when we are talking about organ damage. So here's where I want to leave you. The research is consistent on one thing. Isolated nutrient strategies produce modest results. What produces lasting, meaningful LDL reduction is a coherent dietary pattern where multiple mechanisms work simultaneously, not in isolation. The Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet both outperform targeted supplement approaches in long-term trials. Why? Because they combine the fat quality upgrade, the fiber load, the plant protein shift, and the reduced processed food intake all at once. You're not managing one variable. You're changing the entire environment your liver operates in. Think about what happens when you stack these strategies together. You switch to olive oil, LDL receptors become more active. You add oats and chia seeds every morning. Bile acids stop recycling as efficiently. You add salmon twice a week. Polyunsaturated fat pushes LDL clearance further. You switch from French press to filtered coffee. You eliminate a hidden daily driver of LDL elevation. You add a daily handful of walnuts, plant protein and fiber working in parallel. You add kefir and kimchi. Your gut microbiome starts supporting cholesterol metabolism instead of ignoring it. None of these changes alone is revolutionary, but all of them together, that's when you start seeing the 20 and 30-point drops that make doctors ask what you've been doing. In practical terms, this looks like olive oil as your default fat, fish twice a week, a daily handful of nuts, abundant vegetables and legumes, oats or other high-fiber grains in the morning, consistent physical activity, and fermented foods worked in daily. Build from there, one sustainable habit at a time. Consistency beats perfection when it comes to your heart. And here's something I want to say directly because I think it genuinely matters. The patients I've seen make the most meaningful, lasting improvements in their LDL numbers were not the ones who did everything perfectly. They were not the ones who never had a burger or a glass of wine. They were the ones who made the right changes consistently, week after week, month after month, and kept going even when progress felt slow. Because cholesterol is not a sprint. It's a reflection of your habits over time, and your habits over the next 90 days will show up clearly in your next blood panel. If this breakdown was useful, a quick like helps more people find evidence-based information when they're searching for answers on cholesterol. Most of what people find when they search this topic is selling them something. Here at Wings of Thought, we want to be the exception to that. And if you want to go deeper on how to structure your meals around these principles, how to put the Mediterranean approach into a practical weekly plan, we covered that in detail in another video. Link is in the description. Consistency beats perfection every single time. I'll see you in the next one.